još jednom ili možda bih trebalo da kažem dobro poslepodne.
Some of you were not here last night.
Neki od vas niste bili ovde sinoć.
And I was asked and I talked about the emerging church or the emergence Christianity.
Zamoljen sam da pričam o fenomenu emerging church ili emergence Christianity.
Now, for today I chose to talk about the atonement or sanctuary service.
Za danas sam izabrao da govorim o službi, o svetinju, službi pomirenja.
In order to put it in the same context so that I can share more about emergence Christianity, what people who push that idea and that kind of Christianity to say about the atonement.
I ovo činim da bi stavio sve ovo u kontekst onoga što ovaj pokret Emerging Church zastupa i da bismo shvatili šta stoji iza toga.
And also because we have currently our Sabbath school quarterly which talks about sanctuary service.
Ali isto tako zato što sadašnja lekcija, subotna školska, govori o službi u svetinji.
And so I will try to do my best to give you as much information as possible, yet keep you here in a reasonably short time as I speak in English and we have translation into Serbian.
Probaću da ovo učinim, da vam dam dosta informacija, a opet da budem dovoljno sažet.
The question is, why do we need to study the atonement?
Pitanje je zašto treba da proučavamo o službi pomirenja.
Now, the atonement as a subject cannot go away.
No, pomirenje kao tema ne može tek tako da se odstrani.
Even the emergence, and I'm saying even the emergence for a number of reasons, they would probably like to get away from the topic. Some of them don't feel comfortable with the doctrine of the atonement.
Zastupnici emerging pokreta bi voleli da zaobiđu ovu temu jer se ne osjećaju prijatno kada je ono u pitanju.
But they cannot go away from it.
Ali oni ne mogu da pobegnu od nje.
The simple reason is,
jednostavan razlog je za to.
If you want to talk about Christianity, you have to talk about Jesus' death on the cross.
Ako želiš da razgovaraš o hrišćanstvu, ti moraš da razgovaraš o smrti Isusa Hrista.
Christianity exists because of Jesus Christ.
Hrišćanstvo postoji zbog Isusa Hrista.
Yes, we pray to God the Father.
Istina je, molimo se Bogu
We
Ocu.
recognize that there is the Father.
Mi prepoznajemo da postoji Otac.
Yes, we also baptize in the name of God the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit.
Da, mi krštavamo u ime Oca, Sina i Svetoga Duha.
But it is Jesus Christ.
Ali Isus Hristos,
which makes the foundation and gives meaning and purpose of existence of Christianity.
Isus Hristos je onaj koji je postavio temelje i smisao hrišćanstva.
If it were not for Jesus, there would be no Christianity.
Da nije bilo Isusa, ne bi bilo ni hrišćanstva.
This is nothing new, nothing original, but this is a fact that it is simply it's there and we cannot get around it.
Ovo nije ništa novo, niti originalno, već jednostavno činjenica koju ne možemo odstraniti.
Therefore, we talk about the atonement and Christians do talk about the atonement.
I radi toga mi govorimo o pomirenju i hrišćani govore o tome.
Phyllis Tickle, now look at the slide there, Phyllis Tickle, who published recently, actually last September in 2012, her book came out called Emergence Christianity.
Philip Stickle, koja je vrlo skoro izdala knjigu koja se zove Emergence Christianity.
She, by the way, stole my title. I am going to name the book also Emergence Christianity, except that my subtitle will be different.
Usput ona je ukrala moj naslov za knjigu, ali ja ću još uvijek iskoristiti, ali moj podnaslov će biti drugačiji.
Or maybe I should say it's not that she stole it from me, but she published earlier, so I have to steal it from her.
Ili da se ispravim, nije da je ona to ukrala od mene, ali izdala knjigu pre mene, pa će ispasti da ću ja ukrasti od nje.
This afternoon I will expand more and explain what is meant by emergence Christianity in contrast to the emerging church.
Ali ja ću danas poslepodne objasniti malo bolje kakva je razlika između emergence Christianity and emergent church.
So I will give you a few quotes here to show you that even emergents take the atonement seriously.
I ja ću vam dati ovde par citata da bismo razumeli da čak i oni koji su zastupnici ovog pokreta ozbiljno uzimaju pitanje pomirenja.
This is what she says.
Ovo je ono što ona kaže.
For emergence Christians, there is another unavoidable question as well, and it is the bitterest.
There is nothing on the screen. I don't know if you wanted something.
Oh, there's nothing on the screen? What's the problem? No, it should not be the problem. We had it yesterday, everything worked fine. Automatic. Now let me see. Yeah. What did you do? Magic touch.
People go to school for that.
All right. Okay. For emergence Christians, there is another unavoidable question as well, and it is the bitterest.
Za hrišćane koji su zastupnici emergent pokreta ima još jedno pitanje koje je neizbežno i koje je najgorče.
Or at least the most divisive of them all.
Ili u najmanju ruku ono koje rastavlja ljude najviše od svih.
Emergence Christianity, like all the previous communions that have come into being,
emergence hrišćanstvo kao i sve druga udruženja koja su postojala,
must struggle with the atonement, or more properly, with the nature of the atonement.
Moraju da se uhvate u koštac sa pomirenjem ili možda ispravnije sa prirodom pomirenja.
Now, Scott McKnight, he is a theologian, well-known theologian.
Scott McKnight je poznati teolog.
Recently, approximately 5-6 years ago, he came up with a book titled A Community Called Atonement.
On je pre par godina izdao knjigu Društvo nazvano pomirenje.
Now more than ever in the history of mankind, the fullness of atonement is needed.
Sada više nego ikada u istoriji čovečanstva punina pomirenja je potrebna.
And okay, I'll just give you these two examples. I'm not going to go into the quotations of others, just to point out that they will agree with so far what they have said. They take it seriously. At a meeting in 2009 when I attended in Minneapolis, and I talked with a couple of people. One of them was retired Episcopalian bishop.
Ovo je samo da vam dam primer, nećemo ulaziti u detalje, samo da osetite šta oni govore. Skoro sam bio u Minneapolisu na jednom sastanku i upoznao sam jednog penzionisanog sveštenika Episkopalne crkve.
And I also talked with a Lutheran priest who is still active.
Isto sam razgovarao sa luteranskim sveštenikom koji je još uvijek bio aktivan.
And in this conversation I asked them at one point, what are the most important issues that you emergents struggle with?
I u razgovoru ja sam ih pitao koji je najvažnije pitanje sa kojim se vi koji pripadate emerging pokretu borite.
And they gave me those three answers that you see on the screen.
I oni su mi dali ova 3 odgovora koje vi vidite na
I was not so surprised about the authority of the scripture.
Ja nisam bio iznenađen sa autoritetom Biblije.
And the question of homosexuality.
Ili pitanjem homoseksualnosti.
But I was surprised that atonement ranks that high in there as an issue that they are struggling with.
Ali sam bio iznenađen da se služba pomirenja nalazi tu u vrhu ove liste problema sa kojim se oni bore.
Now, some of you are probably aware that in the last 2000 years or probably 17 centuries, Christians or church fathers
neki od vas ste verovatno svesni toga da zadnjih 2000 godina ili 17 vekova hrišćani ili crkveni oci
su produced or came up with approximately of maybe a dozen of theories of atonement.
su proizveli otprilike 12 teorija pomirenja.
Now, there are numerous of them. There are different versions, theories of atonement, but approximately there is about a dozen of them which stand out as the most important.
Ima ih i više od toga, ali 12 njih je onih koji se izdvajaju kao najvažniji.
I have listed out of those a dozen, I listed about 5 here that kind of stand out.
Od tih 12 ja sam izdvojio 5 koji se posebno ističu.
Now, usually when Christians write about atonement, they usually refer to these 5. The ransom theory, the penal substitution theory, moral influence theory, and Christus Victor theory.
I normalno kada govore o ovim idejama, hrišćani normalno navode ovih 5 teorija.
Now, and many of us Seventh-day Adventists, when you listen to pastors, Adventists often refer to some of these theories.
I mnogi čak i od nas, adventista, kada govorimo o pomirenju, mi govorimo o ovim teorijama.
Now, the emergents have a problem with these theories.
Now, emergent pokret ima problem sa ovim teorijama.
The worst of these that they have the most difficult time with is the one right there in the middle, the penal substitution theory.
Ona sa kojom najviše imaju problemu je ona koja se nalazi u sredini, koja se zove zamena za kaznu teorija.
Now, the easiest one that they like the most and they feel comfortable the most is the moral influence.
Ona kojim je najlakša, s kojim imaju najmanje probleme je ova moralni uticaj teorija.
So, when we talk about and we quote them and we read what they say about the atonement, you have to keep in mind that this is what they are against, this is what bothers them, this is what, when they say traditional understanding, this is what they're talking about.
Tako da kada govorimo o njima i njihovom shvatanju službe pomirenja, treba da ovo imamo na umu da je to ono što ih muči i protiv čega su oni.
So, for example, Steve Chalk, a British author and popular emergent thinker, ignited a huge controversy with his remarks that the cross isn't, he argued like the cross isn't a form of cosmic child abuse, which he pretty much takes it as such.
Steve Chalk, engleski autor i popularni pobornik emergent pokreta, je pokrenuo veliku kontraverzu sa njegovom izjavom da krst nije forma kosmičkog zloupotrebljavanja deteta.
You can read this phrase in two different ways. Okay, you can say that the cross is something else than cosmic child abuse. That's not what he means. What he means is he's saying the cross is something else, not child abuse, the way Christians present it.
Ono što on hoće da kaže da je krst nešto drugo, a ne zloupotreba deteta kao što ga hrišćani prezentuju.
For him, what Christians traditionally have presented is that God abused his son on the cross.
Ono što on kaže da hrišćani tradicionalno uče da je Bog zloupotrebio njegovog sina na krstu.
Now, Chalk is not the first one. Brian McLaren, in one of his books, the story we find ourselves in.
Now, on je jedini koji to govori. Brian McLaren isto tako nešto kaže.
He writes this book, the story we find ourselves in. It comes in 3 volumes. It's actually a fictional story, and he has characters there, and there are 2 characters, Carol and Carrie.
On je napisao ovu knjigu koja ima u 3 toma, koja se zove Priča, u kojoj se mi nalazimo, i ima 2 posebna lika u priči, Carol i Carrie.
So Carol represents traditional Christians, and Carrie represents more postmodern contemporary Christians.
Carol predstavlja tradicionalne hrišćane, dok Carrie predstavlja moderne ili postmoderne hrišćane.
And so in the story, at one moment, McLaren has Carrie responds to Carol saying, for starters,
So u jednom trenutku Carol se obraća Carrie i kaže za početak,
if God wants to forgive us, why doesn't he just do it?
ako Bog želi da nam oprosti, zašto to jednostavno ne uradi?
How does punishing an innocent person make things better?
Kako kažnjavanje iskrenog deteta koje nije ni za šta krivo može nešto učiniti bolje?
That just sounds like one more injustice in the cosmic equation.
To zvuči samo kao još jedna nepravda u kosmosu.
It sounds like divine child abuse.
Zvuči kao božanska zloupotreba deteta.
Now, of course, these are fictional characters, but Brian McLaren is the author. He speaks through his fictional characters.
Naravno, ovo su izmišljeni likovi, ali pisac govori kroz ove izmišljene likove.
And you will find this kind of idea floating around in the minds of many people.
I vi ćete naći ove ideje kako se pojavljuju kod mnogih ljudi.
There are a lot of people, and basically postmodernism, it is this contemporary society, they have a very hard idea accepting that God punishes.
Ova grupa ljudi ima vrlo veliki problem da prihvati ideju da Bog kažnjava.
That God destroys.
Da Bog uništava.
So the idea, and you will see, I will show you why is this. Last night I mentioned worldview, a paradigm of thinking.
Ja ću vam pokazati zašto je to tako. Sinoć smo govorili o pogledu na svet ili način kako razmišljaju ljudi.
And since the emergents operate within that paradigm of thinking, they cannot conceive and they are not willing to accept that God will destroy sinners.
I zato što emergents, oni funkcionišu u okviru ove prizme razmišljanja, oni ne mogu da prihvate da Bog kažnjava grešnika.
And I will share with you this afternoon more. I'll spend some time. What do we mean by worldview? Right now, I'll just tell you one thing. Worldview is just to help you out. Worldview is like the glasses you put on.
Popodne ćemo govoriti više o tom pogledu na svet, ali za sada želim samo da kažem da pogled na svet su naočare koje svi vi nosite i kroz njih gledate svet.
If you have green glass, optics there, you will see everything green.
Ako imate zelena sočiva, videćete, odnosno stakla, videćete sve zeleno.
If you put pink, you'll see pink world.
Vidite roze, vidite roze.
Okay, it's something of that sort, okay?
Nešto tako.
Now, I want to focus on Scott McKnight for one particular reason, and some of you will be, you will begin to, those of you who are aware of emergence Christianity, you will begin to connect these things.
Želim da se fokusiram na McKnighta zbog jedne određene stvari i vi koji razumete malo ovu tematiku, vi ćete moći da shvatite šta želim da kažem.
McKnight is much less critical of these atonement theories, but he creates a theory of his own.
McKnight ne kritikuje toliko ove teorije pomirenja, ali on ima svoju sopstvenu teoriju.
He likes to pick the best out of each one.
On voli da uzme najbolje od svake teorije.
But you will see that he is the most critical against the penal substitutionary theory and the most comfortable with the moral influence theory.
Ali vidjet ćemo da je on najveći problem ima sa teorijom zamene, a najviše mu odgovara teorija moralnog uticaja.
But what is important about him is that he comes up with a theory of his own, which is very much popular, and it is beginning to overtake the thinking of the contemporary Christians.
Ali ono što je važno je da je on izmislio sopstvenu teoriju koja je danas jako uticajna i utiče na moderne hrišćane.
And I will quote from his book titled A Community Called Atonement.
I ja ću citirati iz njegove knjige koja se zove Društvo, koja se zove Pomirenje.
You can see in the title already what he is trying to say.
I vidjet ćete u naslovu već šta on želi da kaže.
Okay, for me, his theory is the best, not because I subscribe to it, but I think it is the best in the terms of reflecting contemporary emergence Christianity.
Za sada ja mislim da je njegova teorija najbolja, ne u smislu da se meni sviđa i da ja potpisujem, već u smislu da najbolje odražava moderno društvo.
Now, you have to also Keep in mind that there are different versions. And different emergent theologians, they're trying to come up with something different and new. But I think his reflects the best.
Trebamo imati na umu da postoje razne verzije, ali njegova je, mislim, ovako najupečatljivija.
And those of you who are aware of emergent church or emergent Christianity, you are also heard of that phrase often used, social justice. Okay, you'll see how this fits with.
Vi koji ste čitali ovome, sigurno ste čuli tu frazu socijalna pravda.
Now, but before I turn to McKnight, I have to show you that paradigm of thinking, or which I have to explain this afternoon more, how that came into being.
I pre nego što uđem u to, želim da vam ukažem na ovu paradigmu ili način razmišljanja.
You will see why there is a necessity to come up with a theory of this sort.
I vidjet ćete zašto je bilo neophodno da se smisli jedna ovakva teorija.
Now, I have not mentioned yet last night, I will tell you more this afternoon, but I have to bring into the picture a certain well-known theologian and well-known scientist.
Ja nisam to sinoć spomenuo, ali moram da spomenem jednog vrlo poznatog teologa i naučnika.
His name is Pierre Teilhard de Chardin.
Njegovo ime je Pierre Teilhard de Chardin.
Okay, I don't know how you say that in Serbo-Croatian, but Teilhard was both a renowned scientist, he's a well-known paleontologist.
On je vrlo poznat paleontolog.
But he is also a theologian, a Jesuit priest.
Ali on je isto tako i jezuitski sveštenik i teolog.
He combined together the evolutionary theory and the biblical idea that God is the creator of the universe and life on this earth.
On je kombinovao teoriju evolucije kao i ideju da je Bog stvoritelj celog univerzuma i života na ovoj zemlji.
In contrast to Charles Darwin, who argued that evolutionary process is driven by the principle of natural selection.
Nasuprot Charlesu Darwinu, koji je učio da je proces evolucije pokrenut sa principom prirodnog odabira, prirodne selekcije.
Teilhard argued that evolutionary process is driven by the principle of emergence.
On je zagovarao da je proces evolucije pokrenut principom pojave ili izdanka.
I don't know how you can translate this, but it is the principle of emergence of which God is part himself.
I princip je tog pojavnog oblika ili izdanka čega je sam Bog deo.
By now you can recognize that it is extremely difficult. I'm struggling. I don't know what word to use in Serbian to say emergent church.
Kao što vidite, mučimo se jer ne znam koju reč da upotrebim u srpskom za ovu crkvu, emerging church.
The emerging church or emergence Christianity derives its name from the principle of emergence that Teilhard de Chardin comes up with.
Ovaj pokret uzima svoje ime, emerging pokret, upravo iz ovog principa koji ovaj naučnik predlaže.
Now, this principle of emergence actually, if you want to translate, make it simple, it means evolutionary church.
Ako hoćete da prevedete, da ga stvarno pojednostave, onda bismo je nazvali crkva evolucije.
Or evolutionary creation.
Ili evolucionističko stvaranje.
Now, we have to keep moving on. It says, his ideas rapidly permeated the Jesuit ranks.
Njegova ideja je ubrzo prožela jezuitske redove.
After 1945.
Posle 1945.
Now, while he lived for many years in China, he's from, by the way, from France, while he was writing, the church forbade him to publish his works.
On je iz Francuske, ali dok je bio u Kini, crkva mu je zabranila da izda svoja dela, svoje spise.
His works were published only after his death.
Njegovi spisi su publikovani tek posle njegove smrti.
And that was done by his friends.
I to su učinili njegovi prijatelji.
But just to give you some sense of who this guy is, by the way, the church, the Vatican, the traditional Catholics in the Vatican, they really did not know what to do with him. with his writings.
Usput, tradicionalni katolici u Vatikanu oni nisu znali da šta da rade s njim.
Because many Catholics still held to the Genesis story of creation of 6 literal days.
Jer su se mnogi katolici još uvek držali tradicionalne izveštaja iz ostvaranja.
Whereas he now comes up with this evolutionary theory of creation and that God himself is part of that process.
A on sada dolazi sa teorijom o teističke evolucije i da je Bog bio deo tog procesa.
However, I'll share more with you in the afternoon and say Teilhard de Chardin has become, his teachings have become the most important teachings for contemporary Christianity.
Ali ono što je važno da znamo je da su njegova učenja najvažnija podloga učenja emerging crkve i hrišćanstva.
Let me just point out to this. After 1945, he came back to France in 1946 or 47.
So posle 45. on je došao u Francusku.
Now, you heard of Jean-Paul Sartre.
I sigurno ste čuli za Jean-Paul Sartre.
Some of you at least. Well-known existentialist philosopher after World War II.
Jean-Paul Sartre je poznat filozof egzistencionalista koji je radio posle Drugog svjetskog rata.
In the post-war Europe, especially in France, Teilhard de Chardin and Jean-Paul Sartre were the two most sought speakers.
U posleratnom dobu Jean-Paul Sartre i Teilhard, kako god, francuski naučnik Teilhard, su bili najtraženiji govornici.
Now, this is what Kofi Annan, this is now 2005. Kofi Annan, you probably heard of him, the former General Secretary of the United Nations, made this statement.
Sigurno ste čuli za Kofi Annana koji je dao sledeću izjavu.
Finally, I'm convinced that Pierre Teilhard de Chardin is a thinker for the 21st century.
Ja sam konačno uveren da je Pierre Teilhard bio i govornik 21. veka.
When Harper and Collins, this is a well-known publishing house, conducted a recent survey of the 100 most important spiritual books of the 20th century, The Phenomenon of Men, that is his book, was the most influential books number 1.
Kada je poznata izdavačka kuća Harper and Collins izvela jedno istraživanje, oni su našli da je najvažnija duhovna knjiga 20. veka bila njegova knjiga Fenomen čoveka.
That's his book.
To je ta knjiga.
Of course, he published several others. They are very influential and powerful.
Naravno, on je izdao i mnoge druge i one su isto tako uticajne i moćne.
Now, I mentioned yesterday Dennis Doyle, and this is a quote from his book. And he's talking about the Teilhard de Chardin, a Jesuit priest and paleontologist best known for his attempt to reconcile evolutionary theory with Christianity.
Ja sam juče spomenuo Doyla koji ukazuje na to da Teilhard de Chardin, jezuitski sveštenik, ukazuje na pokušaj evolucionarske teorije, pomiri evoluciju i hrišćanstvo.
And Doyle says the following: envisioned the church, Teilhard de Chardin envisioned the church as a progressive society intended to function as the spearhead of evolution.
Teilhard je zamislio crkvu kao progresivno društvo koje bi trebalo da funkcioniše kao vrh koplja evolucije.
Yeah, how spearhead, right at the front. The pastoral constitution of the church in the modern world, that's a document from Second Vatican Council.
Pastoralna konstitucija crkve u modernom svetu
incorporated some of Chardin's basic themes by affirming the importance of Catholics working together with the people of various backgrounds for the betterment of the human community.
Dakle, ova konstitucija je uključila i najvažnije teme koje su potekle od Chardina, koje se odnose na važnost katolika koji rade zajedno sa ljudima iz različitih kultura za napredak ljudske zajednice.
This connects directly, I mean, Doyle, a Catholic theologian, directly connects Teilhard de Chardin with some of the major importance of the Second Vatican Council.
I ovo povezuje njega sa važnošću drugog Vatikanskog koncila.
By the way, Teilhard was not attending the council. He was not part of the council. It is his friends and some well-known individuals at that time who were part of the council, but they were influenced by teachings of Teilhard.
Usput, Chardin nije prisustvovao ovom koncilu, ali njegovi prijatelji su oni koji su promovisali, koji su to bili.
Just one more argument to point out how important Teilhard is, that this is not a joke. We are not just saying this is something that someone who is not that important, he came up with some theory. No, this is very influential, very important. There is a thinking that what Paul has done, and this is, I don't disagree with this about Paul, but they say what Paul has done for Christianity, shifted it from Judaism to Christianity.
Još jedna stvar koju on kaže da ono što je apostol Pavle uradio za hrišćanstvo, koji mu je učinio da dođe do tranzicije između jevrejstva, judaizma u hrišćanstvo.
By the way, it's not. Teilhard doesn't say this, but this is found in that book that I pointed out to you, The Emerging Church, published in 1968.
A Teilhard nije ovo rekao, već je nađeno u crkvi Emerging Church.
What Augustine, I don't know how much you know about Augustine. Augustine of the 5th century, died in 430. Augustine is the most important theologian for medieval theology.
Avgustin je bio najvažniji teolog za srednjovekovnu teologiju i on je umro 430.
I also don't know how much you're familiar with Thomas Aquinas, who is also considered as the key and the most important theologian for modern Catholic theology.
Ne znam koliko ste upoznati sa Tomom Akvinskim, koji je isto tako jedan od ključnih teologa za modernu katoličku teologiju.
Now, this is what they say. What Paul has done for Christianity, Augustine for medieval Christianity, Aquinas for modern Catholic Christianity, that is what Teilhard is for our contemporary Christianity.
Ono što želim da kažem je ono što je apostol Pavle uradio za judaizam da pređe u hrišćanstvo i što je Avgustin uradio za srednjovekovno hrišćanstvo, što je Toma Akvinski uradio za modernije katoličke razvoje, to je Teilhard za današnje vreme.
So we're going to just skip some of this. Okay, this is a diagram from his book.
Ovo je dijagram iz njegove knjige.
Now, if you just follow, if you can see that from the bottom, his was basically saying evolutionary process was moving nature into diversity.
Ono što on kaže da je proces evolucije pokretao prirodu u raznolikost.
And what moves the evolutionary process is the principle of emergence. That means evolving.
Što pokreće ovaj proces evolucije, taj princip izdanka ili proboja.
Okay, now you can see that line there, that everything is moved into this kind of diversity, and then comes a point, whereas Darwinism argues that it just keeps moving into that diversity, and you have this principle of natural selection. Teilhard is arguing that it comes to that point, and then at one point, Christ becomes part of that evolutionary process.
Ono što on zagovara, Teilhard, jeste da nasuprot prirodnoj selekciji, znači mi imamo ovu pojavu ili proizilaženje, taj emerging, i u jednom trenutku se Isus uključuje u taj proces i onda dolazi do raznolikosti.
And the work of Christ is to take the nature, the entire, not the nature, but take the entire creation. This is what the work of Jesus Christ is. To take the entire creation toward the omega point. Therefore, now you have convergence. That is the upper part. You see how it moves toward one point.
I ono što je sad posao Isusa Hrista je da vodi čitav život i svet ka ovoj tački susreta kada će se sve opet približiti.
The entire creation. That means entire creation.
Sve što je
universe,
stvoreno.
cosmos, everything moves. And you don't see there at the top there is a little Greek term, Greek letter omega.
I ono što se ne vidi dobro jeste da na samom vrhu postoji ovo grčko slovo omega.
So in other words, everything begins with evolutionary process, goes into this diversity and then begins convergence. It is Christ who does that. Cosmic Christ leads it toward that divine point of unity with divine. You know, after all, everything will one day come back together to the divine.
I glavna poenta je da sve gravitira ka ovoj tački ponovnog susreta kada će sve ponovo postati jedno u Bogu.
All right, now, okay, can you read this fast? We don't have to spend much time.
Možete ovo na brzinu pročitate.
This is the scheme for you and me as an Adventist. So you need a contrast here to try to understand what is going on here. I see some of you are kind of getting tired.
Ovo je šema za nas adventiste, da razumemo o čemu se radi. Vidim da neki postajete malo umorni.
What I'm trying to point out here is that we have to keep in mind, you see the green in the beginning and then green at the very end.
Ono na što želim da ukažem jeste da vidite, na primjer, da ima zeleno malo na početku i na kraju.
That represents Garden of Eden when there was no sin, and then at the end you have when the earth is recreated and when there is no sin again.
To predstavlja na početku Edemski vrt kad nije bilo greha i na kraju novo nebo i novu zemlju kad ponovo neće biti greha.
In the middle of that you have the appearance of sin, you have period of time, we have the flood, then you have again the ancient Hebrews, apostasy, exile, coming back from exile, Jesus dying on the cross, then you have about 2,000 years of Christian church, we have 1844, then now we are living in this age, we are waiting for Jesus' second coming, 1,000 years of abyss, Satan is locked down to this earth, saints are in heaven, and then you have the coming down of Jerusalem, destruction of evil. That's the story between.
Znači, između postoji ta biblijska istorija s kojom smo upoznati, pad u greh, potop, Tora, izbavljanje iz egipatskog ropstva, dolazak Isusa Hrista, 1844. vreme u kojem mi živimo, 1000-godišnje carstvo i onda dolazi Novi Jerusalim i večnost.
This is the atonement story, or better should we say, this is the sanctuary studies.
Ovo je priča o pomirenju ili možda bismo trebali da kažemo ovo je proučavanje o svetinji.
You cannot tell this story without understanding the sanctuary service.
Mi ne možemo reći ovako nešto bez razumevanja svetinje.
This is where 1844 comes. This is where the second coming comes. How do you know that second coming will take place soon?
Kako ćemo znati da će Isus skoro doći?
How can you argue and tell people, listen, Jesus is coming soon, where Christians have been repeated that story for 2000 years?
Kako možemo da zagovaramo i da tvrdimo da će Isus skoro doći kad hrišćani već 1000 godina to ponavljaju?
It is Daniel 8:14. It is sanctuary doctrine that tells us that there is something that happens, there is an end of that 2300 evening mornings, 1844. This is what gives us, places us in history.
Upravo poruka o svetinji, Danilo 8.14, poruka o čišćenju svetinji, 2300 dana i noći nam govori da postoji jedan konačan kraj, da postoji kraj svemu, da postoji period čišćenja i daje nam prosto okvire svega ovoga da razmišljamo na taj način.
Now, to make the story shorter, now we have down at the bottom, Teilhard Shaddam. I created another graphic to show you what he means, how they see the world. Now, keep in mind, we are talking about evolutionary process, billions of years long.
Ovo ispod što vidimo je šema koja prikazuje šta Teilhard Shaddam veruje i njegovo učenje.
Now, you see, this is, okay, the upper part is more to scale. The bottom part is not to scale because we are talking here about almost 14 billion years. And if I were to put to scale, then what is happening in contemporary times will be so tiny you wouldn't be able to read it.
Ovaj gornji grafikon je u nekom pravilnom odnosu kada je u pitanju vreme i trajanje, ali donji nije tako zbog biliona i milijarda godina koje pokriva.
So what he says is that approximately everything begins, 15 billion years ago.
I ono što on kaže je da je sve započelo pre 15 milijardi godina.
However, approximately 2 billion years ago, now billion, million, 2 billion versus 15, we have biogenesis. That means life appears.
Ali ono što tvrdi da pre 2 milijarde godina se desila biogeneza ili pojava života.
Now, 1 million years ago, that's much smaller number, we have the consciousness appears in creation.
A onda posle kaže, oko 1.000.000 godina se pojavila svest kao deo stvaranja.
And approximately, I don't know, 10, 20,000 years ago, whatever, we have this period of Christogenesis where cosmic Christ becomes part of that movement.
I pre oko 10.000 ili više godina imamo ovo hristogenezu gde Hristos postaje deo svega.
Okay. It is from that point on that Christ, because Christ said, after all, the kingdom of God is here. Don't you know those verses?
Od ove tačke oni kaže, a Isus je rekao da je carstvo Božije ovde sa nama, zar se ne sjećamo toga?
So therefore they translate all of that or interpret that the kingdom of God is being done here and now. Evolutionary process still goes on.
I radi toga oni govore da je carstvo Božije se upravo odvija ovde i dešava, jer taj proces evolucije se nastavlja.
You have to remember the process of evolution keeps from the beginning to the omega point. It continues. We are still evolving, but now Christ is leading us toward entire creation, toward the omega point.
Znači, sećamo se da on veruje da je sve započelo sa tim mimoilaženjem i onda Isus nas sada vodi ka toj tački ponovog susreta.
Which means that the kingdom of God is here and now.
Što znači da je carstvo Božije ovde.
Now you may ask, Mr. Brian McLaren or Mr. Scott McKnight, what about the second coming?
A možda bismo ih pitali, a šta vi mislite o drugom Hristovom dolasku?
You heard of your friends Christians used to talk about the raptures, 7 years of tribulation. You heard of them talk about burning in hell.
Čuli ste vaši prijatelje hrišćane da govore o rapture, tajnom uzimanju pred drugi Hristov dolazak, o paklu i gorenju u paklu.
Emergence throw all of that away.
Ovaj pokret je sve to odbacio.
So when emergence come and talk to you, they will say, we don't believe in hell. There is no such a thing.
So kada pobornik ovog pokreta dođe k vama, on kaže, mi ne verujemo u pakao.
You think that God can watch his people burn?
Vi mislite da Bog može da gleda svoje ljude kako gore?
They talk our language.
Oni govore našim jezikom.
But what about the second coming?
Ali šta je sa drugim dolaskom?
Well, second coming is when Christ comes in your life.
Drugi Hristov dolazak je kad Isus dođe u tvoj život.
Emergence also completely dispensationally, they say they throw away dispensationalism. However, I can see that they are still dispensationalists.
Oni isto tako odbacuju dispensacionalizam, iako ja vidim da su oni još uvek to.
Just a different version.
Samo drugačija verzija.
But they completely reject the 7 years of tribulation, Antichrist, all of that. They think that's all nonsense.
Ali čitavu ideju o 7 godina stradanja i ideju o Hristu to se odbacuju.
So when you see, I know some of you probably heard of Ryan Bell.
Verovatno ste čuli za Ryana Bella.
No, I'm sorry. It's Rob Bell.
Rob Bell.
Thank you. I confused. Ryan Bell is a friend of mine. Rob Bell from Grand Rapids. He published recently a book called Love Wins.
Rob Bell, pastor iz crkve u Grand Rapidsu, je izdao knjigu koja se zove
Love Wins.
Ljubav pobeđuje.
Now, he published the book, people read it, then interviewed him, and they tried to nail him, to tell him, listen, what you're saying is that after all of us, humans, whoever lived, will be saved.
On je napisao knjigu i onda su ljudi počeli da ga ispituju i da ga pritiskaju i da govore, zar ti misliš da će na kraju svi ljudi da budu spašeni?
which he would not admit.
Što on ne bi priznao.
But that is the logic behind it.
Ali to je logika koja je iza toga.
There are some of them
Postoje neki
who are saying,
koji kažu,
why aren't we courageous enough to admit that in the end every single human being will be with God?
zašto nismo dovoljno hrabri da kažemo da će na kraju svako ljudsko biće biti sa Bogom?
See, all of that is based on the assumption that God's love is so powerful that it will convert everybody.
A sve to bazirano na ideji da je Božja ljubav toliko snažna da će obratiti svakog čoveka.
So you and I can have a lot of questions. There are a lot of holes there in that argument you can pinpoint, but nevertheless, that is the idea.
To je generalna ideja.
Now, I have to kind of bring it down to the point. McKnight argues,
To McKnight zagovara.
to be forgiven, to be atoned for, to be reconciled, synonymous expressions, is to be granted a mission to become a reciprocal performer of the same. That means to forgive, to work atonement, and to be an agent of reconciliation.
Biti oprošten znači biti pomiren, što su sinonimi i znači da ti bude dodeljena misija da postaneš jednaki učesnik ili onaj koji proizvodi isti rezultat, da oprostiš, da učiniš pomirenje i da postaneš agent pomirenja.
And to work the atonement, to work.
I da sprovedeš ili da obezbediš pomirenje. To misliš?
Yeah. Thus the atonement is not just something done to us and for us, it is something we participate in this world, here and now.
Tako da pomirenje nije nešto samo što je učinjeno za nas, već je nešto u čemu mi učestvujemo u ovome svetu sada, u ovom trenutku.
Yeah, that is the idea. That's why the very heavy emphasis on social justice.
I to je glavna ideja i zato oni stavljaju veliki naglasak na socijalnu pravdu.
Now notice, this is what in my article I'm talking about, true lover and seducer, the same language but they mean different things.
I radi toga ja u svom članku govorim o zavodniku i pravom ljubavniku. Isto sličan rečnik, ali drugačiji cilj.
It says here, to be atoned for and to be reconciled. He's putting them together and you say, well, these are two synonymous expressions and pretty much this meaning the same. But they don't.
On hoće da kaže da ova reč to be atoned for, znači da neko plati ono što ti duguješ ili da budeš reconciled ili pomiren, su sinonimi, međutim to nije baš tako.
Biblical meaning of the atonement is cleansing.
Biblijsko značenje pomirenja je očišćenje.
Cleansing of the sins.
Očišćenje greha.
And that cleansing of the sins, it's done only by the one who can do it.
I očišćenje greha se može učiniti samo onaj koji zaista i može da to učini.
And only God can cleanse you from sin.
A samo te Bog može očistiti od greha.
You and I, as biblically speaking, you and I cannot participate in cleansing of our sins or sins of each others.
Biblijski govoreno, mi ne možemo učestvovati u ovom procesu očišćenja od greha jedni drugih.
It is only when we are cleansed,
samo onda kada smo mi očišćeni,
it is then that we are reconciled with God.
Tada smo pomireni sa Bogom.
So, let me point out a couple more things I have to skip because it is too much.
Dozvolite mi da ukažem na još par stvari, ali moram puno da preskočim.
I should probably just go to this. This is a drawing that I've done by hand. I have to come up with much more nicer and neat. But anyway, I borrowed this from some of my professors, they're friends in the seminary.
Ovo sam pozajmio od nekih od mojih profesora, prijatelji sa teološkog fakulteta.
Have you ever wondered when you look at the 5 books of Moses, and now we're talking about the Torah,
Da li ste ikad razmišljali na ovaj način o petoknjižju Mojsijevom?
in ancient times, when they structured the text on purpose, and they would always place the most important theme, the most important subject right in the middle.
U drevna vremena oni su strukturirali tekst na poseban način tako da u sredini i u vrhu bude najvažnija poruka.
And when you look at the chiastic structure of the Torah, the Leviticus chapter 16 of the Day of Atonement is right in the middle.
I kada pogledate kajastičku strukturu Tore, vidjet ćete da je 16. poglavlje 3. Mojsijevo u samoj sredini.
Which tells us that the most important subject of the Torah is the Day of Atonement.
Što nam kaže da je najvažniji deo ili poruka Tore je poruka o danu očišćenju. Danu očišćenja.
So what happened on the Day of Atonement?
So šta se dešava na danu očišćenja?
And what I like to point out to my friends is that when we look at the theories that church fathers came up with in the last 16, 17 centuries,
I ono što ja želim da ukažem svojim prijateljima da kad gledamo teorije sa kojim su ljudi došli u zadnjih
and if you can remember the following, this is you'll probably take the most out of this presentation.
I ako zapamtite ovo, to će biti najvažnije u ovim predavanjima.
Every single theory that came into being since about 4th century to the present
Svaka teorija koja se pojavila od 4. veka pa sve do danas
is based on an idea from scriptures,
je bazirana na ideji iz Biblije
and each one of them can find you one text or few texts to support itself.
i svako od njih može da nađe po neki tekst da podrži svoje razmišljanje.
However,
Ali
none of them tell you complete story about the atonement.
Ali nijedna od njih vam ne daje potpunu sliku i priču o pomirenju.
And that's the problem.
I to je problem.
You can take moral influence theory, you can take substitution theory, ransom theory. All of them are partially, in part, they are correct.
Možete uzeti sve ove teorije moralnog uticaja ili zameni, svi su oni tačni u određenoj meri.
But none of them tells you the whole story.
Ali nijedna od njih vam ne kaže celu priču.
It is only the biblical narrative of the atonement as it is found in the scriptures that we Adventists call the sanctuary studies tells you about the whole story.
Jedino što nam daje celu priču je izveštaj o svetinji i očišćenju iz Biblije.
Every single theory of the church fathers focuses on the cross, what happened at the cross, and it stays there.
Sve teorije crkvenih otaca se fokusiraju na krst i šta se dešava na krstu i tu ostaju.
However, when you read Leviticus 16, what happened on the Day of Atonement,
Međutim, kada čitamo 16. poglavlje 3. Mojsijevi, šta se dešava na dan očišćenja,
it is not, okay, this is a footprint of the sanctuary.
Ovo je model
And if
svetinje.
you look to your right completely there, you'll see this altar of burnt offering.
I ako gledate skroz desno, vidjet ćete ovaj
Altar of burnt offering.
oltar
Žrtveni
paljenice.
Yes.
Da.
Now, that stands for the cross. That stands for Golgotha.
To predstavlja krst ili Golgotu.
But on the Day of Atonement, that's not the end of the story.
Međutim, to nije kraj priče.
There is much more done on the Day of Atonement than just what happened at that altar.
Postoji mnogo više ono što se dešava na dan očišćenja osim tog žrtvenog oltara.
And actually, the Day of Atonement tells you the entire great controversy.
I zapravo dan očišćenja vam govori čitavu priču o velikoj borbi.
The Day of Atonement is done. when sin is completely destroyed.
Dan očišćenja je završen onda kada je greh potpuno uništen.
Or the atonement is done when sin is completely
Ili pomirenje je završeno kada je greh potpuno očišćen i uklonjen.
Now, I know that people accuse us, and I think they are doing falsely, that we Adventists are saying that the cross is not enough.
Ja znam da nas ljudi optužuju da mi adventisti kažemo da krst nije dovoljan.
That's not true.
I to nije istina.
What happened at the cross is that the victory is achieved, and we know for certain that Christ won and Satan is defeated.
Ono što je istina, da je na krstu Isus odneo pobedu nad
But
Satanom.
what needs to be done is to atone the sanctuary, to atone the entire cosmos.
Ali ono što treba da se učini jeste da se desi pomirenje u svetinji, odnosno u celom univerzumu.
The heaven is included in this war, not only we on this earth.
Nebo je uključeno u ovaj rat, ne samo mi na ovoj našoj planeti.
So there is still work to be done, which is Christ doing.
Postoji, dakle, još uvek posao koji Isus treba da uradi.
And what McKnight is, the problem with McKnight's teaching, I'll just end with this now, I promise.
I ono što je problem sa učenjem McKnighta,
If you look at the sanctuary here, look how it is, this portrayal gives you kind of an image. There is this sanctuary, the court right in the middle, all the tents are around.
ako gledate na ovu skicu svetinje i sve što je predstavljeno,
And this is where the beauty of the gospel is.
i ovo ono gde leži lepota evanđelja.
Now imagine me and you, we live in those days.
Zamislite da smo živjeli u to vreme.
And I have sinned greatly. I've done some big no-no.
I učinio sam nešto što je jako loše,
So
jako
what
sam
do I
zgrešio.
do? I take the lamb and I'm walking toward the sanctuary.
So, šta da radim? Ja
Tabernacle.
uzimam jagnje i ja hodam prema svetinji.
Now, all of you are standing at your own tents and you see me leading the lamb.
A vi svi stojite pored vaših šatora i gledate kako ja vodim ovo jagnje.
And you already know, okay, John has done some big one.
I vi već znate, John je uradio nešto
The
veliko.
point is, what I'm trying to say is, the sinner comes to the entrance of the tabernacle, comes to the altar.
Grešnik bi došao do ulazka u hram i dolazi do oltara.
It is at that point that he participates together with the priest in slaughtering the lamb.
I u tom trenutku on učestvuje zajedno sa sveštenikom u
He
klanju ove
the
žrtve.
sinner confesses his or her sins.
Grešnik priznaje njegove ili njene grehe,
The sacrifice is done.
žrtva je prinešena.
The sinner walks away completely confident that the sacrifice atoned his sins or her
I grešnik odlazi sa tog mesta potpuno uveren da je žrtva dovoljna za pomirenje njegovih greha.
From that point on, the sin is handled by the priest, which
Od te
stands,
tačke sveštenik preuzima problem greha.
which symbolically all of this means, I go to the cross, place it in hands of Jesus, and from that point on, it is his responsibility.
Simbolički ovo znači ja idem do krsta, ja to predajem Hristu i od tog trenutka to je njegova odgovornost.
So, as far as I'm concerned, the cross is all it takes.
So što se mene tiče, krst je sve što je potrebno.
But there is more to be done.
Ali postoji još nešto što treba biti učinjeno.
God has to deal with the entire universe, with sinners, those who are not accepting the gospel. And that is the story of atonement that keeps going.
Postoji više od toga. Bog mora da se pozabavi sa celim svemirom i onima koji su nepokajani i čitavom velikom borbom. I to je priča o pomirenju.
Judgment needs to take place.
Sud mora da
The
se
Bible
odvije.
is very clear
Biblija je vrlo jasna.
that there are sinners.
Biblija je vrlo jasna da postoje grešnici.
There are Hitlers.
Postoje Hitleri.
There are Stalins.
Postoje Staljini.
There are evil people
Postoje zli ljudi
who simply do not want to accept the gospel.
koji jednostavno ne žele da prihvate
They
evanđelje.
don't want to accept the grace of God.
Ne žele da prihvate milost
They
Božju.
don't want to do anything with that.
I ne žele ništa da imaju sa tim.
Those people chose and make their choice, and God will eventually have to get rid of that.
Ti si ljudi napravili svoj izbor i Bog će jednostavno morati sa tim da se pozabavi.
There is no evolutionary theory here.
Ovde nema teorije evolucije.
The sin has a beginning, and the sin will have its end.
Greh ima svoj početak i kraj.
And God will deal with and eventually establish the kingdom of God where there is no sin anymore.
I Bog će se pozabaviti sa tim i eventualno uspostaviti carstvo nebeskog gde nema greha.
This idea
Ova ideja
that God's love is so powerful
da Božja ljubav je toliko snažna
that eventually every single human being who ever lived will accept his love.
da će eventualno svako biće koje je ikad živelo prihvatiti njegovu
It's
ljubav.
also based on the immortality of the soul.
Je isto bazirana na besmrtnosti duše.
What about Hitlers?
A šta je sa
Are they
Hitlerima?
still alive?
Su oni još uvek živi?
Can they eventually change their mind
Ali se oni mogu promeniti?
so that they will choose?
Su oni će izabrati?
I mean, there are so many assumptions, but they are all driven by certain assumptions, goals, worldview, all of that, ideas of, I unfortunately didn't have time
Postoje
to
mnoge
explain.
pretpostavke koje su jednostavno pokrenute svim tim pogledima na sve.
So we have to go back to the scriptures.
Moramo da idemo nazad u Bibliju.
And the Bible is full of atonement stories.
I Biblija je puna priča o pomirenju.
Leviticus 16 is not the only one.
A 3. Mojsijeva 16. poglavlje nije jedino mesto.
You have Book of Daniel.
Imate knjigu Danila
And the
proroka.
most important,
I najvažnije,
a whole book
čitava knjiga
in the New Testament
u Novom Zavetu,
called the book to the epistle to the Hebrews.
koja se zove Poslanica Jevrejima,
It is all about what Jesus as a high priest does for us.
je čitava o tome šta Isus kao prosveštenik čini za nas.
And all these people who are trying to kind of forget
I svi ovi ljudi koji pokušavaju da zaborave
the Torah, the Old Testament, the sanctuary doctrine,
Mojsijeve knjige, svetinju,
cannot escape from the book of Hebrews
ne mogu da izbegnu Poslanicu
and the
Jevrejima.
fact
I
that
činjenicu
Jesus Christ is our high priest.
da je Isus
And
naš
he
prvosveštenik.
is concluding the atonement story.
I on će kompletirati priču o pomirenju.
So the only thing that I can ask you is, and I'm asking myself, is you make sure that you have gone to the cross.
I jedino što mogu da vam poručim i što bih želeo poručim sebi, pobrinite se da odete do krsta.
And give your life to him.
I dajte svoj život njemu.
Give him to take care of your sin.
Daj njemu da se on pobrine za tvoje
And
grehe.
your nature, your character, give it to him.
I tvoja priroda i tvoj karakter,
And
daj
don't-
to njemu.
And don't play games with him.
I nemojte da igrate igre sa njim.
Be honest.
Budite iskreni.
Listen to his words.
Slušajte njegovu reč.
Obey. Follow.
Poslušaj,
And
prati, sledi.
he is certain, he will make for sure that you will be with him in the kingdom.
I on će se pobrinuti da vi zasigurno budete sa njim u carstvu.
That is something that you and I don't have to wonder. Yes, we should. Jesus said that we should help the poor, we should care for justice, we should do everything possible.
Istina, Isus kaže da mi treba da se brinemo za socijalnu pravdu, da treba da pomognemo siromašnima i nevoljnima.
And yes, often we fail, but on the other hand, given our numbers, we are doing pretty good. We are helping the rest of the world.
I istina, nekad baš ne uspemo u tome, ali s obzirom na koliko nas ima, mi pomažemo dosta
Yeah, we
ljudima u
Seventh-day
potrebi.
Adventists as a group, we are helping. We are known for giving money and helping.
I mi kao adventisti, mi smo poznati po tome da mi pomažemo ljudima finansijski.
And I don't intend here to tap ourselves on the shoulders, but we can do more. I am aware of that. But the point is, the focus is not, and the atonement is not what we do in this world.
Ali poanta je da pomirenje nije ono što mi činimo u ovom svetu.
The focus is on what Jesus Christ does for us and the entire humanity.
Fokus je na
tries to
tome
save.
šta Isus čini za nas i celo čovečanstvo.
We have to keep that in mind. So the language can easily deceive us, but you have to be careful.
I to moramo da zapamtimo jer izrazi i jezik može da bude prevaran.
And may God thank you, and thank you very much for staying. It's already an hour and 10 minutes.
Puno vam hvala što ste ostali.